Thank you.
Wonderful. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the September 8th Paid Leave Board of Directors meeting. And I'd like to call the meeting to order. It is 9:02 a.m. and Amber, would you kindly take attendance?
Yes, thank you, Fran. Okay, Ava Bermudez Zimmerman has not yet joined us. Isha Canada will not be joining us today, and neither will Adrian Cochran. Britt Marie Cole Johnson. Has Britt Marie joined us yet this morning? Not just yet. Okay, thank you. Michelle Gilman.
Present.
Sheila Hummel.
Present.
Sal has not yet joined us. Alex has not yet joined us. Ellen McKitterick.
Present.
Fran Pastori.
Present.
John Scott.
Here.
Mike Soltis.
Present.
Molly Weston Williamson.
Present.
Holly Williams.
Present.
And Justin Zartman.
Present.
Thank you, Fran. We have a quorum.
Thank you, Amber, and thank you to the members of the public who are joining us today. And Senator Kushner, it's good to see you. Thank you for being with us today. Okay, first order of business is we will review and approve the August 11th, 2022 minutes, which were distributed last week. Is there any further discussion or any corrections?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you both. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Holly Williams.
Thank you, Holly. Okay, the motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Okay, the third item on our agenda is the Spring Group, which they've prepared a quarterly report on the state of the contribution fund. And I would like to ask the representatives from Spring Group to share its findings with the board.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. I'm going to share my screen now and present a short deck today. Okay. So the goal in the next few minutes is for us to present what we would view as the quarterly updated results. So this quarter is a little bit unique because we just presented results for the same time period. But the intent is to show you what the report will look like. It will continue to evolve. And then going forward, the intent is to present to you what the actual results are and how that compares to what was projected. Okay. For this purpose, though, because we just presented sort of almost final results very recently to this group, the intent is to show you what the updated results look like relative to what was presented before. But just know that going forward, what this really will represent and when these numbers will really start to be meaningful is when we show the actual results relative to what was projected, and then talk about how things are going in that front. Okay. So with that, I'll jump into the key results. So this one page here, this column in the middle here provides the updated results, and the column to the right provides the results that were previously reported in July to the Finance and Audit Committee, and then subsequently to the board as well. We have contributions earned, investment income, incurred claims, other expenses, and the net activity, as well as the fund balance. And then below that in the table, we talk about the funding metrics. And this is where we looked at previously and said, okay, how solvent is the fund truly? Okay. Overall, when we looked at the results, the net activity, the updated results for net activity was $446.3 million. Previously, what was reported as actuals was $454.6 million, and that was primarily driven by lower contributions received in respect of the period that ends in June 2022. The actual amount that was received in July was a little lower than what was previously projected. Now, there was a big drop in contributions that were received between Q1 2022 and Q2 2022. And we investigated it. And we have some hypotheses around what might be driving that, including potentially adjustments coming in from the prior year, from 2021. But also the reporting doesn't necessarily allow us to attribute exactly what's driving that. But going forward, processes have been put into place that will allow us to better understand which quarter contributions are for, and also what is driving the contributions. And so we'll be able to better understand, is it demographics? Is it, for example, a big bonus, more people employed, or just an adjustment from a prior quarter? We'll be able to better understand that with the reporting going forward. Unfortunately, the reporting that we have kind of looking backwards for the prior quarters doesn't necessarily allow us to exactly pinpoint what's driving the difference. But we do see a small change down between what was previously reported and what is actually there. Investment income is unchanged. It's about $1 million. And then claims, incurred claims, is changing slightly, 142.7 relative to previously reported 142.0. And then other expenses are down slightly from 36.5 to 35.9. So overall, the net activity is 446.3 million, which also means that the fund balance is still strong at 446.3 million. Keep in mind, this is an 18-month period, and we did have a whole year where we were receiving contributions in 2021 and not paying claims. So that's why we have accumulated a pretty strong fund balance, as was planned previously when this was initially set up. So as a result, because we have a lot of money in the fund, the funding metrics are all strong. We meet the target metrics. So when we compare the reserve relative to the fund balance, the reserve is very small. The fund balance is very high, relatively speaking. So it's well below that ratio is well below the target. So that we classify that as meeting the target. The contributions are below the fund balance. And we classify that as meeting the target of 3 to 1, so 0.9 to 1 is below that. And then when we looked at adverse losses projected relative to the fund balance, we had set a target of 0.5 to 1. It was 0.3 to 1, and so we classified that as meeting the target. These are all results that were presented previously to the board in the last meeting as well. So those metrics didn't change, and the overall fund status hasn't changed compared to what we've said before. So this effectively represents the report. We do have supplemental slides. Again, I'll show it to you to kind of show you what you'll see in the following quarters, just to give you a flavor. But I think this picture provides you the primary results that you need to see. Okay. So we do have detailed financial results breaking out previously reported versus the updated results, which again, I've gone through the primary points here. And then we also have a graphical representation of the same results. So we have revenues in the blue column, spending in the green, and then the net fund balance overall, revenue minus spending, because we started the fund at 0, shown here. And it's the same results that were shown in the prior page in a summarized fashion. And then this is the reserve as of June 30th, 2022. That number has not changed since what we reported previously at 40 million. And we did go through the components of the reserve previously as well, but I'd be happy to answer any questions on this. Okay. And so that is the end of the presentation. Again, I want to just reiterate what I said before, that next quarter we plan to show actual results relative to what we have calculated as a projection for the year. So that will give you a better flavor for how things are progressing relative to the projection and what's driving any difference. So I'll open it up for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Harinda. Anybody have any questions? Okay, thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Okay. So with no questions there, we'll move on to item number 4. Aaron, would you kindly lead us in a discussion regarding the proposed revisions to the policies regarding the bylaws and the plans and the plan of operations?
Thank you very much. So I have a quick summary. Just want to pull up. So just by way of background, the bylaws include a provision which requires the board to review them at least every 3 years. And it has been almost 3 years, amazingly enough, 3 years next month, since the board first met and adopted the bylaws. We have a couple just cleanup changes that we wanted to propose, including kind of specifically referencing the fact that we call ourselves CTPP Authority and the authority. So I'd just like to throw that in. And then we also cleaned up some references to the Public Act because it's now been engrossed. And so that's a easier and more precise way of referring to it. The more substantive proposed changes involve the attendance requirements. Per the statute, if a member of the board misses a certain number of meetings, this is for members who have been appointed either by the governor or by legislators, not members who are there as a representative of a specific agency. But if they miss a certain number of meetings, they're deemed to have resigned. It doesn't specify what meetings consist of, so we wanted to include the fact that we think the meetings of committees should also be included when we're looking at attendance. But we also wanted to recognize that sometimes people have to miss meetings for reasons that are associated with a serious health condition or pregnancy and bonding or caregiver leave or potentially in the future military caregiver leave or family violence leave, hopefully not. So just in recognition of our mission, we wanted to make sure that we would never penalize a board member for an absence due to a statutorily protected reason. The other more substantive proposed change is to allow the CEO to delegate signature authority to the staff instead of requiring a board resolution. So last month, the board actually adopted a resolution giving Andrea the authority, and then specifically identifying that I have authority and members of the finance team have authority. But in practice, it would be sort of easier, operationally more simple, if the CEO simply had that authority to delegate signature powers to staff instead of having the board have to meet and have a resolution. I'm happy to pull up the actual draft if anyone would like to see that, but those are the proposed changes to the bylaws. On the plan of operations, we did make some more substantive changes last year, so there really wasn't much to change this time around. A couple cleanups, we had some leftover references to PFM LIA, which we don't use anymore. And similarly, we had some references to the trust fund that we didn't want to continue calling it the PFML LIA trust fund. We wanted to clean those up. So those are really pretty minor in terms of proposed changes on the plan. Happy to answer any questions, or as I said, I can pull up either of the documents if you'd like to see those.
Thank you, Erin. Does anyone have any questions for Erin? Okay, we're moving right along this morning. With that, I'd like to ask the board for a vote to authorize the Connecticut paid leave staff to post the proposed revisions to the bylaws in the Connecticut Law Journal for public comment. And let's take a vote. All those in favor?
I'll make the motion to do that first.
And I'll second it.
Thank you. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, motion carries. Thanks, everyone. John, would you please provide the claims administration update?
Oh, I'm sorry, just to be clear, it's the motion to post both the bylaws and the plan of ops, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Sorry, I didn't, it's not in there, my notes, but thank you.
Okay, thank you, Fran. Good morning, everyone. Share my screen here. Okay,
We can see your screen, John.
thank you. Okay, so claims data through September 7th. And the claims filed at almost 69,000. August total claims were 8,164. And so far to date in September, we have 1,224 through September 7th. Okay, claims received status, all approved claims 37,417 at 54%, and all denied claims at 21,400 at 30%, 31% denial rate. Pending claims at 5725, so that's holding relatively steady below that 6,000 number. And that represents about 17 days of claims intake. Statistics excluding the 5,768 COVID claims, all approved claims at 36,535, and that's a 58% approval rate. And the denied claims drops to 16,517 without COVID, and that is a 26% rate of denial. Okay, and then I added some additional information on denial reasons by leave type, and I'll also produce some additional information for Eva per her request on denial rates. So these are the denial reasons, and this is from inception as well. Denial reasons, by far the vast majority of claims have been denied. If you look down at this lower line here, requested documentation not received. And under each of these categories, you can see that the corresponding number by far is the highest percentage associated with denial is because of lack of paperwork received. One of the things that we're also working on with AFLAC is getting additional reporting around the reconsideration, so that we have the numbers of reconsiderations that are filed, the numbers that are upheld, denials upheld, and the numbers that are approved, and that is currently in process, and we hope to have that shortly and be able to provide that data for you as well. So we'll keep you updated on that when we receive that and can report on it. Okay, and then the claims by reason. Again, the largest category by far is employees' own illness or injury, the pregnancy and bonding, and followed by care of a family member. And then the other categories are significantly lower numbers in those categories. And demographics, again, this is all cumulative. And you can see by age group here, again, that the largest age group 26 to 41, and the certainly correlated to the child birth claims. And then again, looking at the male and female breakdown here, you can see that the female claims are running over 2 to 1 on male claims that have been filed as well. So that's been consistent right along. And then a little bit further breakdown, Fran had requested this at some point in the past, couple months ago, and we have claims by age group and leave reason. So you can see how that's broken out, the various categories here, own, injury, illness, caregiver, bonding, and pregnancy. And again, that age group 26 to 41 is the largest, and 42 to 57 is close behind that. And then leave reason by gender. Again, a little bit further demographic breakdown. Own, injury, illness, again, the largest category. And you can see male and female outpacing male claims pretty substantially. And then claims type, continuous, intermittent, and reduced schedule. And again, this remains consistent, where continuous is by far the largest category of claims received, and followed by intermittent, and then reduced schedule has been relatively low number of claims as well. And then moving on to utilization, we're still in the similar circumstances here with regard to the top 10 towns. Again, this is cumulative data, and some of them have moved around a little bit at the bottom here, but in essence, the list has remained relatively the same towns here, with a few towns kind of jockeying back and forth in the lower numbers here. And we have a mix of both rural, suburban, and urban areas in here. You can see the number of claims filed per 10,000 residents. It's how we try to even out the population. And then this is courtesy of Jacqueline. This is the map that she has been working on producing monthly, and this is basically a graphical representation on a statewide basis of the numbers of claims filed, and you can see the color guide on the right there, so you can get a sense of how many claims per 10,000 have been filed in each of these towns. A little bit more of a graphical representation of the demographic info. And then approved leave types by reason. And on the approval end, you can also see, once again, pretty consistent on the cumulative data, that the employee owned illness is the largest share at almost 43%. And then when you look at the bonding and the pregnancy combined, that also represents a very large portion of claims, looking at about almost 48% of claims between bonding and pregnancy altogether, and care of a family member running at about 9%. There's also, we had some questions last month, I believe, about the duration of claims. So this is cumulative here, and it's separated out by the non-COVID cases and COVID cases. And if you average those two together, it's going to skew that number. The 6.72 would probably skew down by maybe a tenth, or 0.1 or 0.2. So you're looking, excuse me, on average about 6.5, 6.6 weeks altogether for average duration of claim. And then some monthly claims customer data. And again, this is relatively consistent. The numbers of calls remain in the mid 30s, and the amount of percent answered in 30 seconds and abandoned has remained relatively consistent as well. Hold time and handle time, again, the same information here, relatively consistent looking at the trend over the past 4 or 5 months here. And then on the payments, we've released over 268,000 payments to almost 30,000 unique employees, a total of almost 1.6 million total days paid, and the total gross payments as of September 3rd, 157 million. And payment type remains consistent. And then looking at some of the other data here, it looks like there's been a little bit of a change in the numbers of individuals receiving the maximum benefit rate has dropped a little bit. We did have a change in the benefit rate with the change in the minimum wage as well. So that may be having somewhat of an impact there. And you can see some of those statistics related to that. And again, the average daily amount remains just a tad under $100 a day, essentially. And that concludes the claims presentation.
Thank you, John. And thanks so much for taking that deeper dive. It's just also fascinatingly interesting to me. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that. Does anybody have any questions for John? All right, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So everyone, we're going to go back and take another vote on the motion to authorize the proposed revisions to the bylaws and plan of operations. So I'm going to say it again, and we'll just go through it again. Okay. So may I have a motion to authorize the staff to post the proposed revisions to the bylaws and plan of operations in the Connecticut Law Journal for public comment? All in
Make that
favor?
motion.
Thank you, John.
Second.
Any opposed?
Wait, we need to go back because we need to do the all
All
in
in-
favor. Okay,
Second?
Second.
Thank you. Any opposed?
no, we still
No,
need an
no.
all in favor.
We gotta, let's go back. So we have we have the motion and the second. So now we need to do the all in favor, opposed, abstentions. Yep.
Yep. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, thanks, everyone. The motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, Jessica and Jacqueline, would you kindly provide the portal project outreach and engagement and legislative updates? And by the way, Jacqueline, I love the map. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Fran. Let me share my screen. All right. So our program metrics as of, I'm sorry, that should say September. No, that's correct, September 7th, because this was from yesterday. So in terms of businesses registered, we are almost at 142,000 businesses. So that was an increase of over 1,000 from last month's report, and just shy of 700 third-party administrators registered. Contributions over 624 million received or in transit. Our private plans increased a bit. So we're currently at 610 approved private plans. That was an increase of 3, which will become effective January 1st of next year. And again, that covers approximately 39,000 workers. For contact us inquiries through our contact us portal on the website, we currently have 171 open inquiries. 158 were new in this past month, and over 250 were closed. And that brings our total since September of 2020 to 41,558, which I just want to take a moment to acknowledge that that is incredible in 2 years that many inquiries have been resolved. And we continue to monitor that through surveys that United Way sends out to folks who have written in or spoken to them, and the results are overwhelmingly positive and complimentary. So thank you to our team over there for helping us with that. On our internal team side, our small business and benefits team support, we have 55 open cases, 52 were new this month, and 45 were closed. And they are almost at 2,000 closed cases since January of this year, so also incredible. No change from last month. The number of workers covered by the Connecticut Paid Leave Program is about 1.6 million. Sorry. Our employer registration and contribution portal, our current activities, production support continues as always. The development for the fund recovery process is underway, and we have kicked off the website redesign and replatform project. On the benefits and claim administration side, the IT team is working on integrating the AFLAC claim, employer, and payment data into the Connecticut Paid Leave platform. Moving on to outreach and engagement updates, website statistics. I have been showing this consistently. So you can see our cumulative statistics up in the blue box here, and noteworthy, I think, is that we have surpassed 1.5 million sessions and over 5 million page views this year. You can see just the trends down here at the bottom. As I believe I mentioned last month, the months that we see the spikes are typically the end of that grace period for contributions, which is why I believe we see those spikes happening. But we continue to have really great engagement in terms of number of users, the amount of time they're spending, the number of pages they're looking at. Our podcast update, Nancy continues to do a really fabulous and thoughtful job with the topics that she chooses and the guests that she has. So in August, she released one on adoption and bonding leave, and also one with AARP talking about caregiver leave. Upcoming episodes, Senator Kushner did an interview with Nancy, and I believe that is going to be released on Monday, so please keep an eye out for that. And she also is working on one with the Alzheimer's Association. And as of this morning, the podcast has surpassed 900 downloads. So we're going to have a big party when we get to 1,000. I know that's the number Nancy's really got in her head, but 900 is just really incredible considering that this podcast is still very new, only about 6 months old. We are going to be doing a mailer to CPAs throughout Connecticut. This will go to about 2,000 tax preparers and accountants. And we're doing this in partnership with our marketing partner, Miranda Creative. And the idea is to reach those sort of what we're calling micro businesses. So maybe they just have 1 or 2 employees, just to really give that a final push to make sure that they are aware and are complying with what they need to do for the program. Also have implemented a Google AdWords campaign along this same sort of thinking with people who might be going to like an H&R Block or a TurboTax to do their own taxes and serving our ads to them as well. So sort of a little bit more of an incognito way to get to those individuals. And this will be going out within the next couple of weeks. I always like to provide an update of our speaking engagements, webinars, and events that are coming up. Most recently, we were in New Haven for a backpack giveaway event with New Haven Public Schools and one of our radio partners, and then also down in New London at Ocean Beach for a Pride Festival. And both of those were extremely well attended, really great interactions. And we were able to speak to many people about Connecticut paid leave. So those have been great. We're getting into our really busy season, so you can see we have a pretty jam-packed schedule. I won't go through one by one, but we do have some webinars coming up. We have some in-person events. Wanted to say thank you to Erin Choquette, who is in high demand for in-person speaking engagements. So she's going to be talking to the Connecticut Bankers Association in October and the CBIA in November. We also met yesterday as a team to work on our fall and winter webinar series. So we're in the planning stages now. We'll start that in mid to late October, and there will be many opportunities for webinars for various audiences coming up. Wanted to mention that we recently launched a YouTube campaign. So we have 2 types of targeting going on, one for the B2B audience and one for the worker audience. I won't play these for you, but they are linked. So if you're so inclined when you receive the slides to take a look, they came out very nice, and we've had quite a bit of engagement with them so far. So that's all good. And then a targeted email campaign. This is something new that we're trying to penetrate. If you think back to the map that John showed, the western part of the state, there seems to be less utilization in terms of applications coming in. So we're going to do this targeted campaign that will focus on the bottom 60 towns in that utilization report based on number of applications. We will exclude people who are likely to be excluded from the participation in the program based on not working for covered employers. So people who work in government, municipalities, et cetera. And this will go out to over 240,000 individuals. So this will give us a way to monitor the claims coming in from those towns over the next couple of months and see if it truly is that we need more awareness in those areas, or perhaps there are other factors that are causing lower utilization. So we'll keep you posted on that as we monitor those results. Also wanted to mention something new that we're going to be doing in conjunction with Hispanic Heritage Month, which starts next week and goes through mid-October. We'll be working with Univision, and they have a campaign where they will be airing vignettes of various individuals and business owners from Connecticut talking about their heritage and why it's important to them, what their favorite parts of their culture are. And so we will be sponsoring that, which I think will be a nice way for us to continue to reach out to our Spanish speaking audience. And will also give us some awareness with a different audience because we have not used Univision before. So this will be a new endeavor for us. And then lastly, as we just continue to educate about FMLA and Connecticut paid leave and how they are different laws, I just wanted to share this quick 30-second video that I created for our social media. There's no sound that's going to play because it's just music in the background, but you can get all the context you need from the subtitles that will pop up. So let me do this. And just forgive the quality. It's just because I created it for social media and then I blew it up. So that's why it looks kind of fuzzy, but just wanted to share that as, you know, we know this is an important thing that we continue to educate people on. And so that's just one of the new resources that we've created to put out there. And that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions, or if there are none, I'll turn it over to Jacqueline to talk about her work.
No questions? Okay. Well, good morning, everybody. Happy September to all of you. I don't have too much to report, just a couple of things. We are engaging on municipal outreach. Jess and I had a really good meeting with CCM last week, and hopefully we'll be connecting with the social service directors in the different municipalities to talk about paid leave. You know, you may know that you interact a lot with your municipal leaders because usually they're your next door neighbors on town council or, you know, more engaged in local issues. So we thought it would be another good avenue to have conversations. I've also been reaching out to the COGS, which stands for Council on Governments, to potentially do presentations at their meetings. A lot of them are very booked, but that's okay. Anytime's a good time to talk about paid leave. So working on scheduling that. I'm also working on, I'm going to be sending out a survey to legislators. We've had some inquiries about putting together materials that they can circulate to constituents. So we do have some infographics that are in both English and Spanish, but wanted to get a little more information from them, whether they would like it electronic or printed. And we know that the Capitol is not, hugely populated these days, but so just getting some feedback from them and getting that up and ready to go. We may know a lot of them are out on the campaign trail and having good conversations with constituents. So want to be able to support them wherever we can. So that will be going out in legislator newsletter today or tomorrow. I think probably today, because I think it's ready to go. But that's for the most part what I've got. I don't know if anybody has any questions or suggestions. Great. Thank you.
Thanks, Jacqueline, and thank you, Jessica. I love the video too, Jessica. That was great. So simple, but so informative. Thank you. So we're going to move on to the committee chairs, but first we want to announce and thank Mike Soltis for agreeing to chair the Policy and Personnel Committee. And while it did not meet this month, Mike, thank you so much for agreeing to serve. Did you want to say anything? I'm sorry.
Oh, my pleasure to serve. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, outreach and engagement. Molly?
I can be super quick. The committee did meet. Jessica and Jacqueline have already updated you on everything we talked about. So if there's no questions for them, I think we can move right on.
Yep, great, thank you. And finance and audit.
Thank you. I wanted to take this opportunity just to thank Mr. Scott for chairing the meeting last month in my absence. I appreciate that. And I will turn the floor over to Dave, who's going to walk through the financial statements for the board.
Thank you, Molly.
Thank you, Holly. Okay, going to share my screen. Can you see it?
We can see your screen, Dave.
Thank you, Amber. Okay, so the financials this month are in a slightly different format. We wanted to get a more uniform presentation across the various schedules, but the information in them is the same. First column is actual for the month, second column is budget, third is variance, and the fourth column is the percentage of the budget used during the month. So let's talk about the month of July. Month of July, we spent $836,000. That was compared to a budget of almost $2.2 million. So we're about $1.4 million ahead of budget so far in the first month of the fiscal year. The primary expenses in July were salaries and related expenses of $742,000. That's higher than a normal month because in July we had 3 pay periods instead of 2. That happens about twice a year. We also had insurance expense of $56,000. That wasn't budgeted in the month of July because we were expecting to pay it in June, but we didn't get some of the bills until July. So that's when we paid it. It's just a timing difference and will resolve itself by the end of the fiscal year. That's what's going on with operations. In terms of bonds, not a heavy month for bond spending, only about $17,000 compared to a budget of $625,000. That money was spent on the claims integration project that we're working on. In terms of the bond money and how it compares to what was authorized and allocated by the state, just as a reminder, there was $50 million that was authorized by the state, over $16 million that's been allocated so far. The authority has spent just over $11 million on the various projects related to the authority. And so we have $4.8 million left of the remaining allocated amount to spend that we do plan on spending during the rest of the fiscal year as we start up and continue various projects. Moving on to contribution activity for the month of July, our contributions that came in were just under $105 million. That was under budget by about $6.5 million. We are monitoring that and gathering more data to make sure we understand, and if we need to update the annual projection for that, we certainly will. Having said that, even though the contribution revenue was less than budgeted, the benefits paid going out was also less than budgeted at a higher amount than the contribution difference. So the benefits paid was just over $20 million, and we were better than budget by almost $17.2 million. So all in all, for the month of July, we were better than budget by almost $11.4 million. So what does that mean for the contribution fund? The contribution fund as of the end of July was just under $461 million. So the money is there in the fund, no solvency issues, certainly for the month of July. And you can see contributions through July are over $623 million, and benefits paid were over $123 million. We continue to make regular payments from the contribution fund for the benefit administration fee to AFLAC, the monthly seed repayment to pay back the seed money that the authority has to by this October, and we pay the quarterly administration fee. Preview for what's happening in the month of August. Nothing unusual there. We did spend almost $1.1 million, $500,000 in salaries and benefits, $135,000 for the quarterly grievance adjudication that the DOL does on behalf of the authority. So we pay them for our share of the appeals administration work that they do for us. $132,000 for maintenance on platform for contribution and registration, $125,000 for the monthly support team over at United Way, and $108,000 for the outreach efforts that Jessica outlined before. Benefit payments for the month of August did tick up a little bit, almost $23 million. Typically a month in the last few months, benefit payments have been between 20 and $21 million. So we are seeing a slight uptick on that. The monthly claims amount, the monthly administration fee and the seed repayment were the same as always. Contribution activity was light as expected for the month of October, $735,000. And the investment income for the month was $815,000. We have seen the interest rate go up in our short-term investment fund account. It was north of 2% in the month of August. So we're obviously pleased to see that amount going up. That's what's happening financially at the authority for the months of July and August. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Okay, Andrea, would you kindly provide your CEO report?
Good morning. Excuse me, my report is brief. We do have a vendor manager position that we posted a few weeks ago. That posting actually closes tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. So we're hoping that we'll get a plethora of qualified candidates and have an opportunity to work through that. And again, that person's primary responsibility will be to help us continue to manage our relationship with AFLAC and with other vendors that help support us in claims administration and other things that we do. We will be spending 2 days at the AFLAC site in Windsor just to reconnect with that team. We really haven't had a chance to do that since COVID. Everyone there had been working remotely. That team now works in a hybrid environment, but they will be there on the Monday and Tuesday that will be there. So we'll get a chance to actually meet some of the people who are providing support in person. We'll get a chance to actually walk through a specific claim in detail so we can talk about some process improvements. And we're all actually really looking forward to that because we think it'll be an opportunity for us to just have face-to-face discussions about what's going well and what we both feel we can improve on our side and our AFLAC side as well. So we're excited about that. I'm not sure if we mentioned this, but we're still working on a website redesign. It's about 6 months out. But we've been having regular meetings with the vendor that is working on that. And the specific ask that I have for the board is we're looking for what are known as user personas. So we're really looking for people who probably have not used the site before, but as you can see with the number of claims being filed, the number is fairly low in the state. But we're also looking for people who can give us some feedback on the site. And so if they're a small business owner, if they are a new parent, anyone who might be in your circle who would be willing to talk to us about how the website works now and what they'd like to see, that would be extraordinarily helpful to us as we're in the midst of this redesign. So if you can email me or Jessica or Jacqueline or Aaron with the name of someone who'd be willing to talk. It takes about an hour to have that conversation. And it would be very helpful as we're trying to build the site so it can be even more responsive than it is right now. And that's essentially what I want to just mention today. I don't know if anybody has any questions. My staff and team provide these really in-depth reports. They don't really leave me with much to say at the end of the meeting. So, but if there's anything specific that you'd like to ask me, I'm open to any questions you might have. All right, that's it, Fran. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. And true, your team does such an amazing job under your leadership. So not a lot of questions, but a lot of information. Thank you all so much. Is there any old business to discuss? Is there any new business? Okay. May I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Can we please repeat that?
I'll make a motion to adjourn. It's John Scott.
Thank you. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Michelle. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? And the motion carries. This meeting is adjourned. It is 9:52 a.m. on September 8th. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day and a wonderful weekend.
Thank you so
Everybody.
much, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a
Bye,
great day.
everyone.
Thank you.